I tried every mainstream piece of dating advice that men are commonly given on how to attract women. And just for fun, I'm ranking every advice into a tier list. And just to keep things extra fresh, we're going to be starting with the simplest dating tips and working our way towards the wackiest shit I ever tried to try to improve my chances of attracting a woman. And remember, if it's in the S tier, that means it's great advice and it definitely works. And if it's in the D tier, that means the advice is so bad, you'd be better off letting a random NPC from a video game choose your dialogue options. So let's get into it. First up, lifting weights. This is probably the single most common piece of advice you hear from other men in manosphere spaces, and it's also one of the very first things I ever tried. I first started lifting weights when I was 17, and by the time I was 18, I was noticeably fit, and I maintained that for the most part over the years. Sure, I had periods where I would go 6 months without lifting, and I'd let myself get a little bit chubby, but I also had periods where I was absolutely shredded. Talking about, I had a six-pack abs, I was benching 260 for reps, deadlifting 420 for a 1-rep max, and I think at my best I did 17 chin-ups, full range of motion, which is extra good considering I'm kinda tall. So yeah, undoubtedly, I had a good physique. And if you don't believe me, here's proof. I know these photos are very low quality, but that's all I got. I don't save a lot of photos. These are from when I was 26, I think. I was about 190 pounds in these pictures. I was leaner than that at times, but that's a pretty good representation of how I usually looked. So, yeah, anybody could tell just from looking at me that I did indeed lift weights. Even when I was wearing a shirt, it was obvious. Okay, I was legitimately kinda jacked. So, how did I use my physique to try to attract women? Well, one thing I tried was simply using shirtless pictures on dating apps. They probably weren't the best pictures. They were just mirror selfies, which I know isn't optimal for use on the apps, but that's what I tried. It didn't work. I got 2 matches, I think, the whole time I was on the apps. Both of them looked like if Shrek had a sex change operation. One of them just ignored me when I messaged her, and the other one stopped replying after like 2 messages, which is probably for the best. I would have felt ashamed of myself for stooping to that level, but that's how desperate I was, and still am to this day. But that's not the only way I tried to utilize my physique. I also used to frequently go on bike rides and go on runs around my neighborhood with no shirt on. And this was in a big city, by the way. My neighborhood was very densely populated. And I would also go to this one beach downtown on my bike. So it was a normal enough place for me to just be there with no shirt on. I would linger around. I would try to notice if I saw any ladies looking at me, checking me out, giving me any kind of signals, and nothing. I never got any signals. See, the thing is, I'm not very good looking in the face. Or really, my face isn't my biggest problem. My bald cranium is the bigger issue, or perhaps I should say the smaller issue. I have a very small cranium circumference. But either way, I put my body on display when I was ripped and shredded, and it did not seem to attract any women. The one and only time I did get some attention from a woman was one time when I was running in my neighborhood. An elderly woman called out to me as I ran past her building, so I stopped and she asked me if I needed a glass of water. I just said no thanks and I kept running. So I guess that was something. Technically, I am a Volcel, I suppose, because I'm pretty sure this 70-something-year-old Eastern European woman was trying to hit on me. So just for that, I'm going to put lifting weights in the C tier because it did attract at least one woman, but overall it was not super effective. It's still good for your health though, so I still recommend it. It's a good idea to lift weights, but it's probably not going to help you get a girlfriend. Okay, next up is money maxing or career maxing. In other words, stacking your paper, G. So this is something I think I did pretty well. At my peak, I was making around $70,000 a year. And this was almost 10 years ago now, so you can adjust that for inflation if you'd like. But it was good money. I was living on my own in a decent apartment in a decent neighborhood in one of the biggest cities in the United States. I just remember back then it was like money was just not an issue. I was able to maximize all my retirement contributions. I bought a lot of Bitcoin, which unfortunately I panic sold and ended up missing out on a lot of money. But either way, the money was coming in. I was working as a design engineer, in case you're wondering. Now, I've always been very frugal, even back then, but I just remember it was like, I didn't really have to think too hard about any purchases. If I wanted a new gaming PC, that was nothing. New wardrobe, easy peasy. $300 pair of boots, didn't even have to think about it. But still, I was mostly very frugal. I bought a $5,000 car off Craigslist when I could easily have afforded something nicer. But that's just how I am. I think it's a function of being high inhibition, or maybe it's just the way I was raised. I don't know, but I'm just a very frugal guy. But anyways, I was making money. I had a good job. I had my own place. I had a car. So how did I attempt to leverage my monetary status into romantic success? Well, when I did try out the dating apps, I put a line in my bio just saying what my job title was, because it was a job I'm pretty sure most people understand pays well. So I had my job title in my bio, and you already heard the results of my online dating attempts, which is no results, pretty much. Complete failure. Another thing is, I worked at this company and there were some young ladies there, some young ladies that were potentially in my dating pool. And obviously, they knew what my job was. So there's a group of eligible bachelorettes right there that was aware of my financial comeuppance. But it was pretty clear the whole time I worked there, none of them were interested. I never talked to any of them much. I have really bad social anxiety. But I mean, what are you supposed to do to signal to women that you have a decent income? Theoretically, I do think it could help to have more money. I mean, it's obviously better to have more money rather than have less money. But unless you're really flashing your cash, just walking around with gold chains, hopping out your new Corvette, it's usually not going to help too much. In my case, it made no difference whatsoever. So money maxing, career maxing, whatever you want to call it, getting to the money, it is a D-tier method of attracting women. This next piece of advice, I know most of you watching this already know it's bullshit, but it's still something that gets parroted over and over again whenever the topic of how to attract women comes up. So what I'm talking about is just be yourself. Just be yourself. It's that simple. Supposedly, all you gotta do is just be yourself, and you're sure to find love eventually. Well, here's the thing. I am socially retarded. I am an absolute chud, bigot, I-word, misogynist, racist, everything. Okay, I am all of those evil things according to most people. I'm not actually bigoted in any way, but I'm also nowhere near what would be considered acceptable mainstream belief. I'm also probably on the autism spectrum. Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. I'm not diagnosed, but a lot of my viewers seem to think I am. So me just being myself would be me trying to talk to a woman about how to tell the difference between a great egret and a sandhill crane. Then somewhere in there I do an impression of a Chinese guy trying to say great egret oh, it's a great egret. 'Cause that's me, okay? That's me just being myself. That's the kind of thing I think is funny, and that's the kind of autistic shit that I like to talk about. An egret is a type of heron, by the way, so it can bend its neck in an S shape. A crane's neck is pretty much in a straight line. Oh, his neck is a straight line. So, yeah, just be yourself is obviously bad advice if who you are is who I am. But you know what? I've tried it. I did try just being myself for most of my life. And the only times in my life that I got any signals from females was when I was very briefly kinda good looking. But every single time, me and myself fucked it up by being socially inept and not knowing what to do, so I would just freeze like a damn freeze cell, trademark pending. So I'm not even putting this in the D tier. I have to expand the tier list and make a new category to even fit this dumbass piece of advice in there. And I don't think F tier is enough either. Just be yourself is giga F tier. It only works if you already have an attractive personality and a good-looking face, in which case it doesn't even matter what your personality is. By the way, there was actually a specific time when I tried telling a girl a joke that I guess some might consider racist, and she just got offended. So that was me just being myself, but I think that instance actually fits better in another category I'm going to be talking about, so I'll save that story for later in the video. Next up is the classic advice of dress better. Wear well-fitted clothing, dress well, fashion maxing, however you want to say it. If you try to get advice as a man on how to attract women, one of the first things you always hear is some form of wear clothes that make you look better. So this is something I put a lot of effort into in the past, and I think I did a pretty good job of maximizing my appearance through the way I dress. I made sure to wear clothes that match, or clothes that fit well. I think my shoe game was on point. I had the Clark's Desert Boots, Red Wings Iron Rangers, different kinds of white sneakers like Vans and Converse. Typically, my fit might look something like a pair of dark jeans, straight or slim fit, a solid color t-shirt with a nice LL Bean flannel unbuttoned. Then I'd wear my Iron Rangers if I really wanted to look cool. That's just an example. In the summer, I would wear a pair of khaki shorts with a well-fitted t-shirt. I used to like the Mossimo V-necks from Target. If you don't know, everybody online recommended the Mossimo V-necks back in the day. That was the meta, especially if you had decent arms, which I think I've already proven that I did. Unfortunately, the Mossimo V-necks are no longer available. But anyways, yeah, my clothing game was on point. I was on fleek, as we used to say, for a period of like 7 weeks back in 2016. I still don't even know what that means, on fleek. I think it means your clothes are cool, so that's why I said it. But anyways, yeah, I used to dress pretty well. I dressed for my body type. My clothes all fit well. I made sure not to ever go out with my shirt all wrinkly or anything like that. And I was in college during this time, so there was lots and lots of single girls that surely crossed paths with me. I mean, I did talk to some girls sometimes, like in class projects and stuff like that, but even then, with my aesthetic physique and my cool clothes, I could always tell these chicks do not want anything to do with me. You know, you can tell when someone is having a bad time in your presence, and most of the time, that's what I would see whenever I talk to girls. And if it wasn't that, then I definitely wasn't picking up on any positive signals. No choosing signals. I did also have some decent pictures on my dating app profiles where you could see my clothing was fashionable and well-fitted. It just didn't make any difference. The only kind of clothing that I think could maybe help me would be a hat. And I do wear hats pretty often, pretty much whenever I go outside, just because I don't want to get sunburned on my scalp. But you can't wear a hat all the time. But basically my point is, dressing better doesn't do anything to fix your face or your oddly shaped bald cranium. So, dressing better is a D tier advice for attracting women. Next up is get a hobby or join a group where there's women involved. So, if you know anything about me and my personal life, then you probably already know about the time I joined a boxing gym. I didn't actually join with the goal of meeting women, or that wasn't my main goal, but a lot of shit went down. I'm not going to tell the whole story here. Just go to my videos and sort by oldest, and you should be able to find all the videos where I talk about everything that happened. But basically, the gist of it is I did meet a girl there, kind of. It was her friend that approached me and told me that this other girl liked me. We started texting each other regularly, and we planned to meet up for a date. Then she wanted to FaceTime before we actually met up. And as soon as my face came into frame, she hung up. And that's the last I ever heard from her. She just ghosted me. I still don't know exactly what the F happened there. I don't know if she somehow thought I was somebody else, or if she had her friends with her during the FaceTime and they didn't approve. I don't know. I don't know what happened. But still, I guess that does at least prove that it could be possible to meet a girl through some kind of hobby or a group like that. I think it's very unlikely to work for a guy like me. I mean, obviously, it did not work out for me. But at the very least, being in some kind of group like that will at least put you in the same vicinity as some women and might even give you a reason to talk to them. So that's something. I think if you're ugly and socially awkward as a man, it's not like just being around women is really going to increase your odds by much. But still, compared to most of the garbage advice on this list, joining a group at least had something going for it. So, joining a group or getting a hobby is a C tier piece of advice. Next up is the last ditch advice every loser man has heard before. You need to lower your standards. Now, maybe for some guys somewhere, this might actually be relevant, but in my case, I can tell you, I lowered my standards all the way down a long time ago. My standards are in the frickin' Mariana Trench. Talking about my standards are so deep down low that they developed bioluminescence. Okay, my standards are about as low as they could possibly go. But also, screw you if this is actually the advice that you give to men that are struggling. Screw you. I promise you, the vast majority of chronically single men already have very low standards. Okay? I don't know what y'all are thinking when you tell a guy to lower his standards, but most lifelong loner men are not trying to get with women that look like Sydney Sweeney. We're not even trying to get with women that look like Sweeney Todd. Most men in the position to be seeking out advice already have very low standards. Okay, I showed you my physique already. Say what you want, but obviously I was in decent shape. I took care of my appearance, and I had a good job. But when I tried the dating apps, my only 2 matches looked a lot like female versions of the fat bastard from Austin Powers. And even they weren't interested. And I already knew it was going to be like that. Okay, that's where my standards are at. But even so, how dare you expect a man that actually takes care of his appearance and has a good job to lower his standards even lower? How dare you? I'm on my Greta Thunberg shit right now. How dare you? The dating market is completely lopsided, just all kinds of out of whack. And every time you tell a decent man that's actually putting in the effort that he needs to lower his standards, you are reinforcing those lopsided as hell, messed up dating economics that got us in this mess in the first place. Fuck you, D tier. Women love guys that are funny. Every woman loves a guy that knows how to make her laugh. Try being funny, bro. I'm sure you've seen this advice before. You can call it jester maxing or just trying to be funny. But the thing I really hate about this advice is that you often hear this advice from the same people that tell you to just be yourself. Well, newsflash, if I'm not that funny just being myself, then how the frick do you square that circle? I don't even know if I use that saying correctly, square that circle. But what I'm trying to say is, it's contradictory to tell a guy to try to be funny while also telling him to just be himself. Some people just aren't funny. And even myself, I think I'm funny sometimes, and there are other people that think I'm funny. Maybe some of you watching this, but women don't think I'm funny. Okay, I have a very edgy, chud sense of humor. And also, the guys that make women laugh the most are guys that are good looking. If you're attractive as a man, then girls will think you're hilarious. Meanwhile, I could make the exact same joke as a good looking guy, but when I say it, it's just offensive. Nevertheless, I did try. I tried a couple times to be the funny guy. I tried to make some ladies laugh their way into my bedroom, but it always backfired. One time in particular, I remember, way back when at my old fast food job, we had to watch this stupid training video. And back in this time, I was definitely better looking than I am now. And also, we had to wear hats as part of the uniform. So I was actually probably decent looking to the female gaze back then. So I'm watching this stupid half-hour long video with my female coworker who I'm pretty sure was a drug-addicted single mother, probably a few years older than me at the time. So she might have been like 23, 24, something like that. She wasn't even good looking, by the way, so this also counts as a time I lowered my standards. But anyways, we're watching this tape, and I don't know why they made it like this, but the training video was obviously recorded decades earlier. It looked like it was probably from the 90s, early 90s, and this would have been like 2010 or around that time. But the way the video was, it was like an older fat white guy as the manager, and he was teaching this younger black guy how to do the job. But the black guy, I swear to God, he was like the most racist caricature of an African American you could ever imagine. He was basically like Tyrone Biggums from The Chappelle Show. I remember he even kept scratching his face like Tyrone Biggums. And we were both laughing at it while we were watching it. But there was a part in the video where the white manager is scolding the black guy, and I don't know, it was just really comical. Like, he was really laying into him, and it just seemed like, why would they put this in the video? It was weird. But I said something like, "Your name is Toby," making a reference to Roots. And yeah, I know, it's not that funny. Arguably, it wasn't funny at all. My female coworker sure didn't think it was funny. She thought it was offensive. It was kind of weird though, because she didn't even say anything. She just went like, "Ugh," and gave me a dirty look. I don't know if she actually even got the reference, but it was enough for me to know that my attempt at jester maxing for her had completely failed. But that's the thing. I'm not a particularly funny guy. And on top of that, my sense of humor does not play well with a feminine audience. So I could try all I want to be a funny guy and make women laugh, but it's not going to work for me. And it never has worked for me. D tier. The next piece of advice I tested in the real world is just stop trying to attract women. Focus on yourself and focus on your own mission. Stop trying to attract women, and then they'll come to you. Well, fellas, I stopped trying a long time ago. Talking about I gave up years ago. By the time I was a 30-year-old male virgin, I gave up. I could see that nothing had worked so far, and my best years were already behind me, so I stopped trying. And did any women just magically come to me? I mean, I guess kinda. I did have a couple opportunities in the past couple years. If you've been following my channel, then you know what I'm talking about. But I was a lonely male virgin when I gave up trying, and I'm still a lonely male virgin today. Full disclosure, I did have a 2 week long oofy doofy relationship with a woman that I'm pretty sure was cheating on me the entire time, but she made damn sure from the start that I knew I was not getting any, despite the fact that she had previously given herself freely to at least one other guy before me that she wasn't even dating. So I'm pretty sure at this point she was just trying to get a green card. I see that as more of a scam than a relationship. But I do think there is something to it, to this whole idea of just focusing on yourself if you're a chronically lonely man, such as myself. It's still D tier advice as far as attracting women goes. It's not going to help you find a girlfriend. That doesn't even make sense. However, it probably is a better use of your time to just focus on improving your own quality of life on your own terms, rather than wasting time trying to figure out how to pick up some of Chad's scraps. So if this was a tier list for general life advice, then I'd probably rank it higher. But for attracting women, not trying and just focusing on yourself is not going to help at all. D tier. There's this little technique popular in red pill spaces that's known as negging. Basically, what it is the idea that when you're trying to flirt with a girl, you subtly insult her. You make a little playful insult just to tease her, but still make it something where it'll have her thinking, wait, does he really think that? Oh my God, wait, he must be superior to me. I have to try to prove myself to him. I guess I better just get on my knees now and just... Or at least that's what proponents of negging seem to think it'll be like. In reality, if you're an unattractive, socially inept, excess male like I am, then you're probably just going to make the object of your affection pissed off. She might even be afraid of you, and that's not what you want. But I did try to neg a girl back in the day. Back in college, in my senior design project, there was this cute Asian chick in my group. One day in class, when we were having a brainstorming session, she was taking notes. She was writing down all the ideas and everything we came up with. And what we were doing specifically was we would all come up with ideas, then she would write it down on a sticky note, and then we'd put the sticky notes on a poster board, so it'd all be there in front of us for us all to look at. Okay, so this cutie pie little Asian baby girl sweetheart, she kept spelling words wrong, and this one gay guy in our group teased her a couple times. I think this other girl teased her about it too. So, I don't know. I was usually always very straight to the point and just all about business in these group projects. But I was attracted to this girl, and I did have a glimmer of hope still back then. So, I don't know. Other people were teasing her. She was laughing along. Everybody, there was a good vibe all around. It felt safe for me to try it out. Okay, I felt like I was in a safe space to try out a little negging in this particular scenario. So someone suggested an idea that involved a kinda big word. I don't remember what it was, but the girl said something like, okay, I'm writing that down. And I just said, if you can spell it right. And immediately, as soon as the words came out my mouth, she didn't even look up, but she just goes, someone's sassy today. Boys, let me tell you, it was very clear from her tone of voice that she did not want me to be trying to have any sort of playful banter with her. I mean, that shit really stung, because she was implying that I was acting feminine. I mean, it was just a very effective comeback on her end, and it was messed up too, because that was literally the only comment I made. She said it as if I was the one that made all the teasing comments toward her, but it was just the one thing that I said, and all the other little negging comments that everyone else made, she just laughed along with that. But I tried to tease her, and I immediately got put in my place. Put right in my sub-5 place. So that's my experience with negging. Maybe it works if you're a man that's better looking than I am, I mean, that's probably true about most of the things on this list. But yeah, negging is a D tier dating tip for men. It's not going to make her want to prove herself to you or anything like that. It's just going to make her want to get as far away from you as possible. So there you have it. From lifting weights, money maxing, jester maxing, going monk mode, I've tried it all, and none of it worked for me. The cold hard truth is, if you are unattractive facially as a man, then most dating advice is just nonsense. Everything people say about how to attract women, these people aren't picturing a peanut-headed bald man with bad skin on the other end of the computer when they give this advice. Certain things like lifting weights, focusing on personal self-improvement, I think that's good advice in general, just for your own quality of life. But it's not going to make women suddenly find you attractive. It really goes to show just how out of touch these normies are with what the dating scene is like for men in my position. It sucks. But if you liked the video or you found anything I said interesting, please check out some of my other videos. There's also some secret videos you can watch for free on my Patreon. No sign up required, so check that out. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.